All right. So everybody, thanks so much. If you're a first timer, thanks so much for listening. Whether it's on the radio, if it's on the YouTube, subscribe, share this, or on Rumble or on another platform. We appreciate that. We are staying in the same part of the country. I believe that our next guest is in Virginia. So we're going to stay in that part of the country as far as that goes. We just had Senator George Allen. He's a good friend of the show on. So we're going to stay there. Eileen Sobjack, she is the president of the National Federation of Republican Women on the program today. Eileen, thanks so much for coming on and speaking with the viewers today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, great. A lot of different topics. We're getting very, very close to November 8th, so everything is kicking into high gear. With that said, can you tell the viewers a little bit about you and the NFRW and how it got started and all the objectives with that?
Oh, you bet. So the NFIW started in 1938, but actually women were organizing even before they had the vote. So they're organizing nationwide. And the Republican National Committee then brought us together and helped us get started. Now we're an independent organization from the Republican Party, but that was that close connection at the very beginning. And so these women, they wanted the vote. They were working on that. They were working on other issues and just got organized. And we've been growing ever since. And last year, we ended our membership with 65,000 women nationwide. That does not account for our associates. That's just our members. And these ladies are working throughout the nation in their states, in their communities, and working very hard. Our mission is to educate and empower women in the political process. So getting them up to speed so that they can be confident and they can go out and serve in their communities, in their state, and throughout the nation.
I want to talk about being a Republican. Myself, I'm very torn right now. I'm going to quickly go into my story, but then I want to hear about what a Republican means to you. I used to be a very progressive Democrat before COVID-19 happened. Due to the mask mandates and also the vaccine mandates, it's really kind of made me torn. This was a country that was built on freedom of choice, freedom of expression, freedom everything. And it seems like the liberals have really picked that apart right now to make their own freedoms for, and I say this for a lot of people, it may get us in trouble on the air right now, but the liberals say that they're for pro-choice when it's abortion, but for vaccine mandates, you have to agree with what they say. As far as you being a Republican, was this something that your family was and you kind of just tapped into that growing up? Or, how did that all come about?
Well, definitely not, because I grew up in a Democrat and an actively Democrat. My grandfather helped organize the unions, and my family always believed in hard work and moral values. But they believed that the Democrat Party helped people out, and that's what they understood. But I tell my father, or told my father when he was alive, he said, "Why have you become a Republican?" And I said, because you taught me to think. You taught me to be a critical thinker. So as I got more involved as a young parent, or even before I was a parent, and my husband and I had a business, we saw that our freedoms were being taken away. I knew the Constitution. I knew about our freedoms, and I thought, wait a minute, this is not looking good. So just like what you're saying now, it seems like the liberals are taking away our freedoms. They are moving away from the constitutional principles that has made America great.
But why are women mostly identified with the Democratic Party? Is it this abortion issue? Is that why? And do you see that changing with all the people you're talking to with the NFRW around the country? Is a woman changing? Are they talking to a lot of women too that saying, we're just fed up with all this woke nonsense, with this abortion craziness that's going on right now, and then obviously the mandates?
Yeah, I think they've carried it way too far. I am hearing from women that I've known for years that were strong and staunch Democrats and would debate me on issues, and they are now going to be voting Republican. We're seeing in the polls many independent women. Look at Tulsi Gabbard. There are even more examples like hers across the country. So I think they just went too far, and women are smart enough to figure it out, and they are figuring it out.
Eileen Sobjack, again from the National Federation of Republican Women here on the program. Eileen, let's just kick this around because we've talked about abortion. I brought it up in the last question, but let's talk more about it. I think most reasonable people around the country are against abortion for the most part. You know, rape, incest, life of the mother. There are those cases where, you know, that could happen as far as that goes. But people just saying abort babies for birth control, I don't think that most people in their right mind and that are sane agree with that. What are you hearing? Because the Democrats really are pounding away at this issue. I mean, whether it's in Florida, in Rhode Island, where I'm originally from, I hear these ads all the time with the liberals pounding away on this issue. What are you hearing from women in the organization, from yourself, that are talking to other women around Virginia, but even around the country, these other women? What are they saying about the abortion issue? They agree that it should be safe, legal, and rare, or are they, for the birth control concept?
It's not the issue that they're talking about.
Okay.
They're concerned with these other issues. I believe the Democrats made a strategic error in pushing this one issue. I think the reason they did it is because they don't have other issues they can go on. I'm sorry, but I mean, you can't talk about the economy being good right now. Well, but they do, they try. So yeah, it's just not the issue that they wanted it to be for these elections.
Your organization, obviously, as you said, Eileen, 65,000 strong, and we should even do the plus because, like you said, that's not accounting some other woman in the organization too. So with that 65,000 plus strong, how are they helping candidates, whether it's the state house, the state senate around the country, and then obviously those house and senate elections?
Okay. Well, what we're doing at the national level is we started out the gate in January with a candidate recruitment Zoom, and then we held a virtual campaign school for many weeks. And what we've been doing since then is our ladies get involved in campaigns in their states, but we also provide opportunities to point them in the right direction. We have interviews on our website of many of the candidates that are running for federal and gubernatorial offices. We've held Zooms with not just women, but like Blake Masters, Dr. Oz, and Herschel Walker. And those are available for our members so they can learn more about the candidates and what the issues they stand on. So when they're stumping for them out there, they're knowledgeable. We have pointed our ladies in the direction of phone apps. We have Super Saturdays. We have also organized with the Republican National Committee and cooperated with walkathons and going out and walking the block. That in addition to the work that these ladies do in their own parties.
Can we just, do a little detour to Virginia politics? I know you're in that area right now, obviously living there. I talked to Senator Allen quite a few times on here. I'm sure you're familiar with him and what, as a governor and a senator, he did for the state of Virginia. With that said, he rants and raves about how the Republican Party is starting to make some small waves back into power in Virginia. Can you speak about that? I know the start of that was doing that sweep in 2021, which I was extremely surprised of. From a person that's an outsider of Virginia politics, I couldn't believe that Terry McAuliffe won. Obviously, I wasn't on the ground, such as where you are, but he's got the Clinton machine behind him. Glenn Youngkin was kind of a newcomer to Virginia politics. Obviously, winning that attorney general's race was big. A lot of people didn't even see that coming. And then the lieutenant governor's race. Can you talk about Virginia and what's going on? Is it starting to turn the tide toward Republican politics instead of just being that strong Democratic state like it used to be?
Well, so I do have to tell you that I'm actually from Washington State, but I lived in Virginia during my term as president. So I'm also seeing it kind of as an outsider, but I am involved a little bit, not on the ground as much as some of my friends that live here in Virginia. But I do see the tide turning, and I think that it seems like the Republican Party in Virginia is becoming stronger, and maybe that's part of it, and or maybe it's just what has happened in the last few years leading up to this, and people have had enough. And I mean, we hear in the polls nationally that as far as independent women, that they are growing and moving towards the Republican Party. So possibly that's what's happening in Virginia as well.
Eileen, you just said that you're from Washington. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that. That's got a
Okay.
very hot, hotter than fire Senate race right now with Patty Murray. What is going to happen in Washington State? Patty Murray's been there for years. She's been a known quantity in Washington State. It seems like at the beginning, I should say, of this year that she was going to win that in a landslide. Now it's getting very close. What's going to happen in Washington? Is she going to eke it out, or could we see some that Republican wave, I should say, really carry the Republicans over the top with even a win in Washington State, which is unheard of?
Yeah. Well, it looks like it's a toss up now. And Tiffany Smiley's gaining ground. And I'll tell you, I've met her several times. She has a fascinating story. She's a strong candidate. She's raising money. She has just a monumental support. So I think it could be done. Right now, she has a bus and she's traveling all over the state of Washington and getting out to those voters. So I'm really excited about that race and to finally retire Patty Murray and her tennis shoes.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
The Senate is so tight right now. And, at the beginning, I thought this was going to be a Democratic Senate, Republican House, but right now it's too close to tell of what's going to happen. And with the Fetterman situation, with his health, God bless him. I feel sorry for him. That race really tightened up. And, some of these other races, Colorado, Washington have tightened up. Obviously Ohio's tight. There's a lot of these tight races that could go either way, and that we'll really see what happens with the Biden administration, if it's a Republican House, Republican Senate, or Republican House and a Democratic Senate, of what's going to happen in the next 2 years before that 2024 presidential race. As we wind down to the end of the interview, again, Eileen Sobjack here on Fire Breathing Rob. Definitely subscribe and share this podcast when you see it, or if you're listening to on the air. With the radio, just definitely tell your friends. She is the National Federation of Women chairwoman there, president, whatever you want to call it. We can say both things, I think. Eileen's okay with that. With that said, with the Republicans, if they do take over the House and Senate, if they just take over the House, what will you guys be pushing them to do to keep that Biden administration in check, regardless of what happens?
Well, we certainly are in support of the commitment to America that Kevin McCarthy had rolled out, and those are dealing with those kitchen table issues, important issues of inflation, the border, parental rights, and many other things. But whether or not, we can, realistically, if bills are passed, we know that they're probably going to be vetoed.
Yeah.
But if they can do anything to take care of some of the bureaucrats, unelected bureaucrats that are in office, not in office, but have so much power We'll support the legislation that comes forth with the commitment to America, and then we're going to work hard to elect a Republican president.
Can you talk to the liberal viewers that are watching, that are progressive, that, maybe they're tired of a lot of the stuff that we've spoke about through this interview? I know a lot of these people that have said, with the children's and the parental rights and all the issues with the operations going on with kids that are underage, that don't know if they're, male or female. A lot of these kids are suffering from verbal abuse at home, in the school level, bullying, and maybe they don't know where they're at. Maybe they just need a good counselor, a good parent, a good, big brothers, big sisters in their life to help them into the right direction. But I don't want to ramble, but talk to the liberal viewers that are kind of fed up with the Democratic Party, but they're still voting that blue no matter who style. Try to, persuade them, I guess.
Okay. Well, I guess if I was talking to the liberals, I would say they need to stop listening to the rhetoric. They need to get on the ground like we're on the ground and talk to the people. And, when you said we saw during the Trump, before Trump was elected, we saw a lot of working class people get into the party. I grew up in a family that was their focus. They wanted to do something for the working class people. They wanted to make sure, and that's why they got involved in, the union politics. They thought that was the way to make sure that their family would be taken care of. That's not the Democrat Party anymore. And they need to stop listening to the rhetoric. They need to talk to the people. They need to look around and see what's happening here right now and how difficult it is for many families.
How do we bring America together, I guess what I'm saying is.
Well, I think we have to lead with that message because there are so many angry people. And like you say, they're just about name calling. They're angry, angry to the point of what we saw in 2020 when going into the big cities, and it's continuing on. It's out of whack, and we have to lead. We have to lead and show respect, even for those that we disagree with. And, you don't have to be polite, and but you can debate the issues, and there's a way to debate them. But this yelling and screaming, and I think you're right that social media has had a lot to do with it, because you can hide yourself on social media and you can get on Facebook and post all sorts of nasty things and then go away. But when you're face to face with someone, it should be different. But however, I'm even seeing a lot of that yelling and screaming going on with people face to face. So we need to lead, and we need to get back to not being a divided country, but a country that is united, even with our different opinions and our different parties.
Eileen Sobjack here on Fire Breathing Rob. Thanks so much for your time. As we end, where can people find more about your organization, yourself, follow you on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook? The list goes on and on.
Okay, so for NFRW, we're on the web, nfrw.org. We're on Facebook as the National Federation of Republican Women, and Twitter the same. And if they want to follow me, it's just my first and last name there. And we welcome the follows, and get on our webpage. If you are not a member, we have a lot of information on the front page of the website. But if you are a member and a woman, then you can get even more resources and strategy that'll help you to be educated and empowered as a Republican woman.
Again, November 8th is the election. Whether you're voting for the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, get involved, go out and vote. Thank you so much, Eileen, for the conversation. You're doing amazing work, and keep up the great work. And for all the women around the country that you're working with and that are helping out the organization, thank you to them too. We hope to do this again soon.
All right. Thank you very much.